Okay, so I've got Revit open. I haven't done anything yet in Revit. And before I do, I'm going to go and get the satellite image of the site that we're working on. And I'll start with Google, since I've got that one open. So I've done here in Google a search for our address, 1727 Pittwater Road, Mona Vale, in Google Maps, and I've just switched it over to a satellite view. Okay, so that's the maps view, and then I've switched to satellite. And I'm simply going to zoom in and turn off this dodgy person and get the site up. So we can see the building there, and this is of course Google Maps. So I want to do a screen capture of that.
So you zoom in as far as you can?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
so
that's as far as you can?
that's as far as I can go, yeah. So this might be helpful if you've never done a screen capture before in Windows. There's an option key for it, which is Control Print Screen, but probably the better option these days is to use the clipping tool. Snipping tool. So you can just go to the snipping tool on the Start menu. Okay, so that's built into Windows, and then click the New button, and then simply make a window over, click and drag, make a window over the whole visible area. Most importantly, you need the scale bar down in the bottom right corner. So down the bottom right, see how there's a little scale bar there? So I'll just maximise this so you can see it here as well. Right, so why do you think we need the scale bar? Yeah, pretty much so we can get the size right, or the scale, that's right. We can get the scale set using that scale bar. So I've got that one. Yep. And then I'm going to do the same thing with 6 maps.
Where have you put that other one?
I haven't saved it yet, so I better do that. So that's glad you reminded me. So I would have done it, but I'll do it now. File, save as. And I'm going to save a copy so you can get to it. So again, on the P drive, Student Resources, Interior Design, and then, 3D Digital Presentations.
Bye, Meg. Thank you.
And then Pittwater Road, Mona Vale. And then I'll just call this Pittwater Road, Mona Vale, Google Maps. Okay, so that's saved. And then I'll just do the same thing with 6 maps, but in fact I don't have to because I've already done that previously. It's exactly the same process though. So once you go to the 6 maps website, you can easily search for the same address and use the snipping tool. Don't try and use the save tool. There is a saving to PDF option you'll see up here. It doesn't work that well though, so you're better off using the snipping tool the same way I just did. And you can save a satellite image which will look like this one. Okay, so there's the one from 6 maps, which you can see is a bit more detailed than the Google Maps version. So why do you think I bothered with the Google one? I'll just show you. Exactly, you can use Street View, and it points out a lot of the nearby amenities. So it's got the roads labelled, it's got nearby shops and other site features. And well, that's a nice thing to know. You should have that because if you don't know this area, luckily I've been up there a fair bit lately. I did a design not far from here, but I've also spent a bit of time there. And the golf course and the other things across the road make a big difference to that area. The shopping, knowing where that is nearby, and the fact that the main shopping centre is actually up the road a bit, and down on the other side of the site, it's more residential. And those are things that you wouldn't pick up so much from 6 maps. So it's good to have both. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But 6 maps is the one I'm going to use in Revit now. So notice that there, I've also saved it with the scale bar, but here it's on the bottom left, not the bottom right. So that's what you always want to look out for with these satellite images. If you're going to use them in a CAD program like Revit, make sure you can see the scale bar. So now finally back into Revit, and I'm going to make a new file. So, just to see what you remember with Revit, how would you begin a new file if you don't have your own template? Yeah, or,
File.
or,
Oh, the little folder at the top next to the R.
what about the shortcut right there where it says architectural template?
template.
That's the quick way. But you're right, you can go to the file menu and then go new project, and then from the list choose architecture template. So that's the most important thing. Always, if you don't have your own template, use that template. So it's really important, and I can tell straight away if people have used the wrong template, like the construction or one of the others, causes all sorts of problems. So make it easier on yourselves and use the right template. So we've got a new file, and I'm going to go straight to the True North view and insert my satellite image. So, how do you insert an image in Revit? You go to the Insert tab and you click Image. So then I'm just going to browse to that folder on the P drive, and so again, Pit Water Road Manor Vale, and find Pit Water Road Manor Vale 6 maps. And then I'll click to place it just roughly in the centre or the origin. So do you know where the origin is in your Revit files? It's in the middle of these arrows. So those arrows are your 4 elevations. So in the middle of those is the centre. So by eye, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to zoom in and find the scale bar, you can see there. And then, while the image is still selected, if it's not, just click on it to make sure it's selected. I'll click the scale button. Scale. Yep. Okay, so then I'm going to click on one end of the scale bar, and then come over and click on the other end of the scale bar, and then type in the measurement that we've got right there, which is 10,000. Okay, so I've scaled it correctly. Sure, I'll undo it and I'll repeat it. I'll just undo that. And just make sure I've undone the scale. Yep, that's right. Okay, so again, make sure it's selected. Click Scale. Click on one side, and then click on the other side. Yep. The 2 squares, yeah. Well, the 2 rectangles, yeah. So I'll just then type 10,000, which is 10 metres. And then if you're not sure, if you want to check whether you've done it correctly, you can use the measuring tool to measure that scale bar and make sure it's 10 metres. So you can see there, it's within 7 mil, that's fine. So there, 10,007, that is within your tolerance, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so then we just need to do a couple of other things before we can use it. So I've got to move that image so that the building that we're working on, this is our building here, that's got to be roughly in the middle of these elevation symbols. So I'm just moving it so that they're, so that building's now, again, roughly in the centre of those symbols in the middle of the section line too. Right, because that's where you want your plan to be. Right, so then we've got to rotate the image to orient with the way you want your plan to be as well. So again, with the image still selected, I'm going to click Rotate.
I'll just select the whole thing.
Yep. So then when you click Rotate, you're going to see that this base point comes up. So that blue dot in the middle, that's your base point. And I'm going to drag that now onto the corner of the building. And then move the line that's coming out from that base point so that it's in line with that side of the building there. And click. And then I'm going to bring it down so that it's a horizontal line. Right? So why do you think we do that? Well, that's how we want our plan to be. Right? We don't want our plan to be at that unusual angle. We want our building to be oriented to the page. So our plan edges line up or at right angles to the page.
So you move the dot. Once you press rotate,
Yep, move the dot and then you give the base angle. So the base angle is the side of the building, and then you bring that around so that the side of the building is horizontal. And then if you need to, you can always centre the building again and make sure it's in the middle of those elevations. So then all of that is set up in the other views. If you go to a floor plan, you won't see anything, but you'll see in a second if we draw, I'll just draw some reference planes. You all know how to draw reference planes? Oh, good, good. Okay, so if you draw a reference plane over the edge of the building, and that's always a good idea to mark where it is. So I'm just going to draw these reference planes which mark those rough edges of the building. Don't try and be too precise because it's all probably going to be adjusted later, but this is just to make a start. Right, so I've got the edges there. And once I've done those, I can go to a floor plan and I know where things are. I can see the reference planes even though I can't see the image, and those reference planes come up in these other views. So yeah, so that's why you use reference planes, if you've been wondering why in other subjects you've used them to start out. Okay, so then the final thing I'll show you before maybe giving some time just to get this set up is how to set true north. Right, because this is, that satellite was originally showing us true north. So then we can use it to set north in Revit. And there's a special tool for that. So it's on the Manage tab. And then you go to Position, and then Rotate True North. Yep. Yep. So that's why you have to use this True North view. So we go Rotate True North, and then again you get that base point. So drag that base point this time onto the very corner of your image. Bring it up to snap to the top corner. So that was the bottom left corner. So then we go to the top left corner. Then bring it around. And you're just going to feel when it snaps to being vertical. So mine's ended up being 12 degrees, which is probably about right. You'll see when it's vertical. Yeah. So, and you'll know when it's right because when you finish it, then the image should be at right angles to your screen again. And then the reference planes, you can see they've rotated. But what's really interesting is if you go back and look in one of the other plans, they're not rotated. That's correct. So have you seen how a survey looks? This is why I was brought up site analysis plans earlier. They'll often begin with a survey or a more general site plan. And those are going to be like this. They'll be oriented to true north. But does that mean you should do your own site drawings that way? Should you always orient them to true north? No, definitely not. You're interior designers, or wanting to be. So you should do your drawings the way architects do them as well, which is to orient the building to your page, not to true north. But it's still a very useful thing to have a view like this, which is set to true north, when you need to look at the sun and the shadows. But then most of the other views will stay with the orientation that you've begun with. So I just want to make that clear, and that's how you should set up your project. So I'll give you some time to try that, those of you doing Vale, and then I'll get on to the other project.